What's going on? Matt Moore here. I got my friend Noah Watry with me. We're talking about his book, The Game of Life in Poker, the lessons I learned on and off the felt. Now we're talking about chapter 8, which is Final Table or Bust. This is a really big part of the book to me because it's talking about you're coming in your own play style, your influences, and really making that push for your first final table. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, I think it's actually a very important part of the book because it's that halfway point, and then it also really sets up the later chapters in the poker playing because up to that point, and now again we're going back 15, 14 years ago, whatever it was, back in 2006, but I was still not reaching the pinnacle of poker yet. I was still trying to make a final table even. I hadn't won a tournament yet. Online, yes. Online, we could print our money.
Right.
Live was there where I wanted it more though. Live
Yeah.
to me was like you passed a true test, a true challenge.
That's what we were used to watching on TV, right?
Right.
You know, you're seeing them do that, these other pros.
Mhm.
That's who you want to emulate, and that's what you want to do, recreate.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, to me, there is honestly no greater feeling in probably almost anything than winning a live poker tournament. And back then, I hadn't done it. So in this chapter, though, I discuss finally coming through and making that first final table. And the final table is the final 9 players. So in a tournament, when you start out with the 70, 80 people that we had at Skybox, a lot of people filled place in making down to the final 9, and then you play to a winner. And I remember I was getting frustrated around this time, wondering, I'm better. Why can't I win? Why can't I have a hand hold up? Why can't I make the final table even? And you told me that you'll break through, and when you do, you're just not going to fizzle out. It won't be you make the final 9 and you take ninth. When you make that final 9, you're just going to go full steam ahead, and it's just going to be like the floodgates open. And sure enough, on the drive there that night, I ended up making the first final table, and then getting heads up. So the final 2, unfortunately, I did not come away with the win, which stung. It hurt, and honestly though just reaffirmed how badly I did want it. And there was a feeling that I wanted to keep getting over and over and over again. So every week we would hit up Skybox and EWP, but I just was trying to recreate that feeling every week and get that victory. And at this point though, it was still just making that first final table and then again losing heads up though.
Yeah. What's so addicting, I think, with the poker tournament is it's a roller coaster of emotions of getting the chips, shuffle up and deal, the start of it. You don't know what cards you're gonna get. You can get great cards and they don't hit. You can, running that first bluff, raking in that first pot, like all those different emotions, each feeling. Like you don't win a tournament by winning every hand. You lose hands, but then you learn from it too in that moment. And the better you adjust to each player, the faster you adjust to each player and their style is how you end up putting yourself in a position to win a poker tournament or go deep. And it's really tough. I think that's what each one is so different, and it's the same cards. It's the same, even if you were to play with the same people, it'll be so different. Just because there's only so much you can control, and that's what I think is so great about it. Now, talking about different players, who do you feel like was influencing you the most at this time, play style wise?
It's a really good question. I'm trying to think back then. I might say Phil Hellmuth.
Yeah.
Fellow Wisconsinite, holds a lot of poker records, World Series of Poker records, but in some ways because I also let my emotions show.
Sure.
If I lost a hand or took a bad beat, especially getting knocked out of a tournament, I was not happy. I let my emotions show, maybe made a comment about the player.
Sure.
And that's what Phil Hellmuth does because he expects to win every time, and it's just not mathematically possible. But also, I never put I never put chips or money into a pot without a reason.
Sure.
I never didn't think about what I was doing or why I was doing it. Every hand had a purpose for me. I didn't just, why'd you do that? Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I just wanted to play this hand. I mean, like you said, you learned something from a previous hand, so you'd start to play the player then, or something else. You get moved to a table. Maybe you got to play a little bit tighter, play less hands. Maybe you got to play more hands. So I think just in being able to adapt to each table, that's just kind of the person I followed. And then also I just want to say real quick that Phil Ivey, who's a player who back then he always had like shifty eyes.
Yeah.
You could always see like his eyes moving around,
Mhm.
and that's what I would do when I wasn't in a hand. I would still like watch someone. You could see me
Yeah.
maybe look down at someone. Maybe they're jittery, or maybe they're taking a drink when they're strong, or maybe they're just looking around when they're weak. And that stuff I would pick up on. So I think those two players just are who I tried to emulate.
No, that's great. That's a good one for a chapter 8.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for checking this one out. Have a good one.